Right now, on to the point. California Congressman Eric Swalwell announcing he's running for governor.
Reaction from Republicans and Democrats on this crowded gubernatorial field and the attacks Swalwell is facing from the Trump administration.
A new fight over offshore drilling.
The more we drill, the more we spill.
State leaders furious over the plan to open up parts of California's coast. Good news for your holiday budget. President Trump's latest tariff moves could mean lower food prices. And on the back roads,
Oh my God!
a fun way to see and experience Lake Tahoe in the winter.
Thanks for joining us on this Friday. I'm Alex Bell, and the crowded race for governor has one more new candidate, and it was announced live in front of an audience.
So I came here tonight, Jimmy, to tell you and your audience that I'm running to be the next governor of California.
Yep, Eric Swalwell joins a growing list of Democratic candidates for California governor, including billionaire environmental activist Tom Steyer, who announced his run for office just earlier this week. And the most recent poll from Berkeley has Republican Chad Bianco in the lead with 13% support, with Porter dropping to 11%, which is just 3% more than the next highest ranking Democrat, Javier Becerra. We'll have to see how Swalwell and Steyer's entry into the race changes some of this polling. Now, ABC10's Becca Habecker joined a virtual news conference with Congressman Swalwell in the last couple of hours and joins us now live in studio. Becca, what's the latest?
Well, Swalwell says he believes California's governor has two main jobs: making a better state for everyone by focusing on housing and jobs, and protecting the state from the Trump administration. Well, I spoke with a Republican and Democratic strategist about their reaction to Swalwell's news and how the race is shaping up.
I'm a collaborator. That is my default.
California Congressman Eric Swalwell held a virtual news conference Friday afternoon, less than 24 hours after announcing his candidacy for governor on Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Our state, this great state, needs a fighter and a protector, someone who will bring prices down, lift wages up.
Well, he's certainly taking the position of moving kind of hard left in terms of his messaging. So that's where he sees his lane as a candidate. In kind of the Democratic field at this point.
Republican strategist Tim Rosales says Swalwell is younger, fresh-faced, and charismatic.
All of those things, I think, make him a unique candidate compared to the rest of the field at this point on the Democratic side. The question is that going to be attractive to Democratic base voters?
I'm wondering how you see your role in this crowded field of Democrats.
Yeah, I don't see myself as hard left. I see myself as hard aspirational for this great state where, again, we with pride say we are the fourth largest economy in the world. But most people are asking, what does that mean if I can't afford to live here?
Swalwell has also been a staunch critic of President Trump for years. Earlier this month, a Trump administration official referred Swalwell to the Justice Department over allegations of mortgage fraud, which Swalwell denies, calling it a political attack.
I don't wake up to fight Donald Trump. I wake up to fight for Californians.
He says he'll defend California against any attacks by the administration.
Where our state is under attack, where immigrants are being chased by ICE agents and troops are in the streets and cancer research funding is being taken, I will be a fighter and protector for our immigrant community, but also recognize that we can't count on the federal government to fund the priorities of our state.
He says he'd leverage his international relationships to entice other countries to do business with California. With a crowded field of candidates that could see more names added, Democratic strategist Mike Trujillo says he thinks voters next year will have more high-profile choices than they've had in nearly 3 decades.
The last time Democrats in California have had a real choice was 1998. That's when we had Jane Harmon, Congresswoman Harmon. We had Al Checky, the businessman. We had Lieutenant Governor Gray Davis. All three were spending real money. All three had real operations. They ended up running against our Attorney General, Dan Lundgren, who was the Republican.
Now, Swalwell and Steyer, by the way, both ran for president in 2020. Today, Republican candidate for governor Chad Bianco said, in part, quote, Eric Swalwell was a total failure when he ran for president. Californians need a governor who has the credibility and integrity to save our state from the Newsom years, and that is not Swalwell. Alex?
All right, Becca, thank you so much. And to continue this conversation, I want to go ahead and bring in a very familiar face, Mr. Steve Swat. Thank you for joining us on this Friday.
My pleasure.
A few questions here with this announcement. You know, if more candidates do not drop out of this race, what implications do you think this might have for the overall, flooded field of candidates that we're seeing in this race in general?
Well, first of all, there may be more candidates who do get into the race on the Democratic side. Right now, you have 8 prominent Democrats in that race. And there is I'm not going to say it's likely, but it's possible you have a doomsday scenario for the Democrats. Let us say all 8 stay in, or even 10 get in. You have 10.3 million Democratic voters out there, or potential voters. Let's say those 8 or 10 split the vote, and then you only have 2 Republicans and 5.8 million Republicans out there. They've split the vote. You conceivably could have 2 Republicans finish 1 and 2. And it's the top 2 primaries, so those 2 would go on to the general election. And that would cause, obviously, a great deal of angst.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question is, given the large field of candidates, what do you think that, Democrats really need to be doing to prioritize their strategy in the party moving forward so they don't lose this seat?
Well, I think for the time being, they let things go and see where things stand, in a month or 2. But if you get closer to the election and it's a wide open race and you have all these candidates that are vying for votes and there's no one clear leader, I think the party power brokers, Governor Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, and some others, have to tell some of those candidates who are lower down on the totem pole or don't have enough money to run a real viable campaign to get out so that you don't have this huge Democratic field.
Yeah, and something you alluded to just a moment ago, do you think that more people are going to end up jumping into this race?
Well, I know more people are thinking about it. Rick Caruso, who's that developer down in Southern California, says he either will run for governor or for Los Angeles mayor again. And he could self-finance a campaign to a great extent because he's very wealthy. And then you have Rob Bonta, who's the attorney general, who took himself out of the race a few months ago and is now considering, we believe, to perhaps get back in.
Something we'll keep following. Steve Swat, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, developing tonight in the redistricting battle, the Supreme Court today temporarily blocked a lower court ruling that found Texas's congressional map is likely racially discriminatory. The state's newly redrawn map favors Republicans in the 2026 elections. Earlier this week, a lower court ruled that it likely discriminates on the basis of race. The state called on the high court to intervene to avoid confusion as primary elections approach in March. And tonight we are learning Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning from Congress. The Georgia representative was once a loyal supporter of President Donald Trump, but has criticized his foreign policy focus and his reluctance to release more documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. Taylor Greene's final day is January 5th. She has not said what she plans to do next, something we will also continue to follow. All right, still a lot more news to get to. So coming up, a fight over offshore drilling. President Trump pushes to open coastal waters to new oil leases, the growing backlash, and what happens next. And a break at the grocery store. The new tariff rollbacks leading to falling food prices.
Checking in on those Friday afternoon highs, low 60s to near 70. We'll see how long this mild weather sticks around.
All right, let's get a check of your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods joining us tonight. Monica, I got to say, Thanksgiving is looking pretty nice when it comes to the forecast.
It certainly is. It's one of those days where you can really enjoy opening up the windows when you're cooking and things are getting hot inside. What we're tracking first and foremost, those light north winds for today really help to erode the fog and bring up the temperatures. For the weekend, we're going to see very similar conditions. Watch out for those morning cool temperatures, and then Thanksgiving week, late week storm kind of brewing out there. But again, Thanksgiving looks really much picture perfect. Satellite and radar, clear skies overhead right now through the valley. A couple clouds up there in the high country, but overall dry forecast. We'll pick up the fog overnight tonight. So right in between about 6 and 7 a.m. That's when we start to see that reduced visibility. Lows will start off in the low 40s. You'll see it up and down the I-5 corridor as well as Highway 99 over towards the Delta. That's pretty much the stretch of the fog. But as I mentioned, with those north winds, it starts to erode pretty quickly during the midday hours. So our weekend outlook, mostly sunny. Highs are going to be near 60, but there's those morning lows in the low 40s heading into our weekend. High pressure keeping us dry. The storm track is to the north of us. Now, Washington and Oregon, if you are traveling up the I-5 corridor northbound, just be aware of some showers showers heading into Thanksgiving week. But beyond that, California finally starting to see some drier weather. It is somewhat short-lived. As we turn to our Friday afternoon forecast, we start to see the opportunity of snow showers, mainly north of I-80 and up towards extreme northern California. That has the potential to stretch south throughout the day and into that weekend. Highs for tomorrow kicking off this weekend. We're in the 40s up top for this era, with 50s to near 60 throughout the foothills. And again, very chilly morning lows. If you are headed up to do some mountain recreation, those lows start us off right around 20. 40s morning lows for the Bay Area, including the Delta and the Coastal Valley region. Fairfield up to 64 tomorrow. Napa has gorgeous fall colors. We'll be at 66. Highs throughout the capital region in the lower 60s after morning lows in the 40s. And our 5-day regional forecast again will continue to showcase very mild conditions. Our extended outlook, mostly sunny skies Saturday and Sunday. Watch out for the patchy morning fog. And then next week, maybe a total week off for many people, taking that Thanksgiving as an opportunity to spend the entire week off with a mix of sun and clouds. Highs will be in the low 60s, morning lows in the 40s. That's what we're talking about, those chilly morning lows. And then heading into the following weekend, a mix of sun and clouds, chance of those late day showers on Friday.
All right, Monica, thank you. Coming up just in time for your holiday feast, some good news for your food budget, why you could soon see falling prices. And then on the back roads, a winter thrill ride out in Lake Tahoe. We take you inside the snowy adventure that's been decades in the making. As we reported this week, President Donald Trump is rolling out a sweeping plan to expand offshore oil drilling, including areas off the coast of California. The announcement is already facing strong pushback from environmental groups and state leaders. ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Huh explains what this could mean moving forward.
Expanding offshore oil drilling is a really bad idea.
The more we drill, the more we spill.
Strong opposition already to President Donald Trump's proposal to reopen California's coast to offshore drilling.
Dead on arrival. Dead on arrival.
Newsom calls the plan idiotic as he and other Democratic leaders vow they will not stand by. California has largely stayed away from offshore drilling for decades, since the disastrous 1969 Santa Barbara oil spill, which environmental advocates call
the birth of the environmental movement in California and in the United States.
The U.S. Department of the Interior says the plan is part of Trump's efforts to restore American energy dominance. The plan pitches offshore lease sales spanning over 1 billion acres, including 6 along the California coast between 2027 and 2030. Nothing is finalized. Each lease sale faces environmental review and a 60-day public comment period set to begin Monday. Then
oil companies bid on specific 3x3 lease areas.
We are very dependent on foreign oil and foreign products. It is critical for our national security that we become energy independent.
But opponents argue there are economic risks. Different sectors competing in offshore waters like military operations, marine transportation, commercial and recreational fishing, tourism and recreation.
95% of the marine economy is everything from tourism to ship and boat building to living resources, fishing industry, that kind of thing. And about 5% of the GDP is offshore oil and gas.
And environmental risks like to the Dungeness crab, kelp forests, offshore islands, and coastal wetlands.
Where we feel like the federal agencies are breaking the law, California will step up.
If we're going to get away from oil and gas, we do it over a transition over a long period of time.
Jenny Huh, ABC 10.
Experts point out the Biden administration had the fewest number of offshore lease sales, while President Trump has said that he wants to have more than any previous administration. And jumping into your price points tonight, good news going into the holidays. Experts say prices of certain grocery items could go down, and that's after President Donald Trump removed some tariffs on Brazilian goods yesterday. They include duties on coffee and beef, as well as certain fruit, juices, and nuts. The executive order applies retroactively from November 13th. That's the same day a previous order reduced some tariffs on some food items. The U.S. has a trade surplus with Brazil. Trump says that he has imposed 50% duties on its goods in July to protest the trial of its former leader, who now faces about 27 years in prison after the Brazilian Supreme Court convicted him of an attempted coup. This year's Thanksgiving travel period is expected to be the busiest in 15 years. That's according to the FAA. And the TSA expects the Sunday after Thanksgiving to be one of the busiest travel days ever overall. And the TSA projects to screen nearly 18 million people between Tuesday of next week to Tuesday, December 2nd. Meanwhile, AAA predicts more than 81 million people will travel at least 50 miles from home during this holiday period from November 25th to December 1st, and that's up 1.6 million just from last year. All right after the break, we're hitting the back roads, the thrill of Tahoe like you've never seen it, including a romantic snow globe getaway. Well, you never know what you'll see on the back roads. And tonight, John Bartel takes us snowmobiling near Lake Tahoe.
When the snow falls at Lake Tahoe, the rip-roar of snowmobile engines resonates through the air in State Line, Nevada. Well, if you thought snowmobiling was an extreme motorsport only for the wild and crazy, think again.
You want to get that weight over onto the left. Yeah, just like that, a little further. Okay. Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Zachary Gordon's a manager at Tahoe Snowmobile and Tubing, which is a decades-old company, and he's made his living out of teaching people just like me how to snowmobile.
What, this tops out at what, like 120 or?
Yeah, yep. Fully like ungoverned, they'll do about 120 miles an hour.
Is that what we're gonna do today?
Probably not.
Okay.
Though these snowmobiles can go fast here at the groomed track at Lake Tahoe, these snowmobiles are governed, meaning the top speed is about 25 to 30 miles per hour.
You gotta be careful, believe it or not. They're a 500-pound machine, and if you come into these turns with not the right, weight distribution, they'll roll on you real easy.
Once you get the hang of driving these things, Zach likes to show off the local history, which he'll be passing by.
Back in the 1800s, the Pony Express came right through here. It was one of the mail stops.
Zach says before the casinos, the restaurants, and the tourism, this area was only visited by homesteaders and ranchers.
So originally, as you can see next to us here, this was used for cattle grazing and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of the original stuff is still here.
The snowmobile track is built on the Park family property, who for generations used this land to ranch cattle. Adjacent to the track, you can see the historic ranch-style home they built generations ago. Zach says the family still does a little ranching and land preservation in Nevada.
Everything's built except for this area. So what the Park family did was they deemed it for recreation only from here down.
Well, if snowmobiling didn't get your blood pumping, you might want to try the other attraction at Tahoe Snowmobile and Tubing.
We're gonna hit like what, Mach 2 or 3? Or?
Yeah, just let me know when you start getting scared and I'll pull the chute.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh my God!
The tubing hill was specially designed for racing. Multiple lanes allow sledders to get to the bottom of the hill in the fastest way possible. And if the snow starts to melt, Zach says he can make more with their state-of-the-art snow factory, which makes new snow overnight.
So this is just like a massive snow cone maker.
Basically, yes. Yep. Yeah, you can run it right in the summer and have snow cones all day long.
There is, however, a downside to the tubing hill. There's no chairlift to the top.
This is definitely the worst part about sledding right here.
Yeah.
Once you're all worn out, consider resting and munching on some s'mores in the romantic see-through snow globe igloo.
Very romantic. We're fully booked for Valentine's Day right now.
Well, here at Lake Tahoe Snowmobile and Tubing, there's no business like snow business.
Snowmobiling at Lake Tahoe. I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the back roads.
And we have a special edition of Bartel's Back Roads for Native American Heritage Month. John Bartel explores the vibrant cultures and landscapes of California's Native tribes. You can watch California Tribes anytime on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. And that is our show for tonight. As always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. If you have something you think we should be looking into, you can always email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. Have a great night and a safe weekend. I'll see you back here on Monday.